So this is my outdoor kitchen area, the little campfire there. I do cooking on that, either with a grill, a tripod, or just hot coals. Very easy to do, and a lot of times I just sit the Dutch ovens right on the side of the fire pit, and the heat cooks it. You just have to lift it up and turn it about every 10 minutes so the side facing the heat doesn't get hot, or it doesn't start to burn. You have to evenly disperse the heat as you turn the Dutch oven every 10 minutes. And then you see where we do the rabbit butchering, and then this blue silver tarp thing, we've got a number of chicks in there that we're growing up to replace our egg layers. We've got a little fountain there with fish in it, and then we've got our wood-fired oven that my son built this year. Absolutely amazing, and you can use it just like a regular oven. You just have to be a little careful with the temperature and how long you keep it in there. You can use it as an oven by putting a piece of wood across the door, or the door opening. You can also cook anything inside, and again, you just rotate it every few minutes so the side closest to the fire doesn't get burnt, but everything's heated evenly. And you keep a small fire going in there the whole time. Now if you want to turn it into a bread oven, you get the entire thing really hot with a nice big fire in there. You rake all the coals out. You get a damp mop, a clean mop, and you wipe down the floor a little bit so the ash is out. You put your loaves of bread in there directly on the tile or on the fire brick, and then you close it up with a little door in place, and it bakes in there, and it only takes like 15 to 30 minutes. Traditionally what they would do is they would start off with baking the hottest thing, which would be pizzas, anything along that line, flatbreads that they wanted with melted butter and cheese on it, whatever. They would take those out, then they would put in the next temperature level, which would be meats, if you wanted to do meat, or they would do cakes, cookies, anything along that line. They would take those out. Then they would put in something that, like, the next level down would be, trying to think, beans. You would put your bean pot in there, and you would close it up and leave it there overnight. Come back in the morning and you have a pot of baked beans. At that point you would take the beans out, and it's still warm enough to put trays of herbs or things you wanted to dehydrate in there, but it's not hot enough to burn them. So in one firing you can get multiple things done. Oh, casseroles was another one. People would put casseroles in there, or potatoes or anything like that, for about an hour, and then you have dinner. So there's multiple uses out of one firing. Or like we're doing today, we just have a fire in there, and we're going to make pizza. If I thought ahead, I could have had some bread dough ready and made some bread after the pizza, but that's okay. So this used to be a swing, and the swing canvas part, rotted off. So what we've done with this is we use it for butchering rabbits or chickens. This is where their legs are tied up, and we can do 2 or 3 people at a time butchering rabbits. Usually rabbits on here, but sometimes chickens. So that's a little innovative thing that we've done. And then if you go over this way, I'm just giving you a little tour. This is our sort of makeshift barn. My sons put it together when they were 15. This is the overhang where all of our alfalfa is stored. So here's the dry alfalfa. These barrels over here, they hold alfalfa pellets for the sheep and the goats. And if you look in here, we have our sheep are in here. These are my Finnish babies. And this is called having sheep in confinement. They are not out in a pasture, they are not out running around. They get dry hay and alfalfa pellets. They've been in here, they haven't even been out since last, like August, I believe. They do very well in here. We don't have to worry about predators. They don't get overheated. Their wool is much cleaner. It's messy, but it's much cleaner because they're not in mud. We do put straw out here several times during the winter. We muck it out about once a year, Hello, Panda. Hello, my baby. These are my little pet girls. There's 2 mamas over there, and each one had twin girls. So we have a total of 6. And then we'll walk around the back and I'll show you my girls that are my dairy goats. So we had 9 trees that we had cut down because one of them was completely rotten inside and was about ready to fall in the house. So we have tons, literally tons of wood out here, firewood. These trees are 4, 5, 6 feet in diameter across. So it's taken us a long time just to get some of this split. And here's my girls, my dairy goats. This one is Ebony. This is the Nubian. She's my sweetie. Emily, come here, babies. We've got 2 babies in there that are locked up, and they're the ones you're hearing. These are Dolines that haven't been bred yet. They're ready to be bred. And here's my Emily girl. Come on, Emily. Come on, big girl. Hello there, Sophie. So Sophie is part Saanen and part Nubian. Ebony is pure Nubian. Her babies behind her are a year apart. The biggest one, Brenna, is pure Nubian, and so is her sister, Sissy. Emily over there is 50% Nubian and 50% Saanen, and I see a little face trying to stick out. There it is. And then we have Frannie over here. She's pure French Alpine. I bought her specifically to increase the milk amount. The Nubians give us beautiful creamy milk. They're kind of like a Jersey. And then the Saanen part, which I love too, they produce a ton of milk. So Emily over there will put out 2 to 2.5 gallons a day. Emily here, or Ebony, will put out 1 to 1.5 gallons, but it's super creamy. And the French Alpine kind of does a little bit of both, but they're also very heavy milkers, so 2 to 2.5 gallons. And she's due in July, the beginning of July. So this is my ram, and it's just about time to shear him. We've been waiting for the weather to get warmer. He's also a Finnish. He's one of 8. He's an octuplet, and he's such a sweetheart until you get in the pen, and then all he wants to do is chase you. Oh, my big boy, look at you, you're sweet babies. Yes. Oh, my babies, yeah, look at you. He's got a muddy nose. But this is what the pen would be like if we had them out here. So I really like having them in confinement. When here in the Pacific Northwest with the rains, this whole thing is nothing but a mud bath. And his whole bottom of him is just caked in mud. But this wool is so soft. Oh, it's just so amazing. And it's got the most beautiful colors, aren't you? You're a pied. P-I-E-D. A pied face. I know, my big boy. Yes. Alright, let's go see Bucky. And this is our Buck. He's a real sweetheart. He's losing some of his fur right now because the weather's changing. I don't want to touch you too much. You stink today. But he's a really good daddy. He makes the most beautiful babies. And we have a shelter back there for him. I mean, it's nothing fancy. He does fine. But you can see the mud. This is just pure mud, and it gets really bad in winter. We've been putting in wood chips like a foot layer at a time, and that's really helped. In the girls' pen, it's been amazing, but we haven't done it in his pen yet. It's hard to get that many wood chips. But yes, this is my big boy. Oh yes, I know. Okay. And here's one of the trees that we had felled. It's about 3 feet from top to bottom. All this firewood has come from it. They went all the way across the creek in the back. They were about 120 to 150 feet. This is a spruce, and it gives us the most amazing firewood. When it dries out, it burns hot and it catches so fast. It's just amazing. But that was an adventure, and we're still trying to get all this firewood chopped up for the people who are going to move in when we sell this property. So this tree is the one that we had to cut the other ones down for because it was in the back and we had to have a place for it to fall. This was completely chewed out, hollowed out. You can show them this curlicue here. It was literally like probably going to come down this year. The tree guys didn't even understand how it was still up. It was so rotten, but we had baby squirrels in it and it cracked all the time, and I tried for 6 years to find somebody to cut it down. And it's just completely rotted out on the inside. Okay, these are my favorite way to have rabbits or chickens or turkeys or any kind of small critter, even like small goats would work. This is a hoop house, and the front and the back you can make out of plywood, corrugated roofing. You can even use more stock panel or fencing on the back, whatever you have you can use. And then you have stock panel, and stock panel comes in all different sizes and lengths. And all you do is you build a frame on the bottom and you screw the stock panel on. You bend it up and over. You don't even bend it, it just kind of curves. And you attach it to the other side, and you have a completely enclosed pen. Now here, because we have raccoons and foxes and all kinds of things that can fit through some of the holes in the stock panel, we usually take chicken wire and put it over the stock panel so that there's smaller openings. That also doesn't let the chicks out if you have baby chicks in there. And then because we're in the Pacific Northwest and it rains like 8 or 9 months out of the year, we put plastic over it, but we leave the ends open so there's a lot of airflow. It helps cool it down. And you can see the plastic, it's not completely tied on or anything, it's just sitting there. And we do have bricks along the bottom to hold it in place. So this is probably the most effective. I could get one of these up in about an hour and a half with my son's help, and you're ready to go with chickens. We'll open up this small one. We have little banty hens in here. They're going to try and come out. Very roomy, plenty of space for them to get around. They're protected from sun, although these will work like a greenhouse and get too hot, so you either have to put a tarp over them that's a solid color, or make sure that there are sections that the air can get through, like front and back. So these are my daughters. She was going to show them at the fair. They're little banties. They're called Sea Bright, silver and golden Sea Brights. The bedding in here is really nice. It stays very fluffy. It's a little, we had a lot of rain, and this front section is where the rain came through because we keep that one section open for the airflow. So this got a little matted down, but in the back it's very fluffy. They rototill it around, and there's plenty of space in here for this number of chickens. We have chicks inside, tiny ones that are going to be coming out here pretty soon too, so it'll fill up a little more. And these are my bigger girls. They're going to try and hop out here. These are the carriers, and this is the inside of the hoop house. In the very back there, we have two that are broody. They're sitting on eggs. The nesting boxes, I love these. They're if you want to find a really good nest box, go to the Best Nest, I believe it is. I can find a link for you guys. But they roll downhill, so the chickens can't have any access to them. Once they come out of their body, they roll downhill, and they stay in the front part, and you lift up the top, like the lid of it, and you just gather the eggs. They're great. So yeah, this is how easy it is, and you can see there's plenty of room. You can walk in here. This gets cleaned out once a year, so right now it's at its peak. It's probably 2 feet high with manure and straw. That will come out and get composted. We'll be down to dirt level again, and then we start all over. One of the nice things with doing this kind of a bedding for chicken or anything really, even goats and sheep, is over the winter it starts composting on its own, and it actually has heat in there, and so it keeps them warm during the cold months, simply from the composting action. Alright girls, go on, shoo shoo. Okay, this is the biggest hoop house we have. This was the first one we put up, and it can house about 50 chickens. Right now we have it, we're using it as a rabbit barn. I can't go in there because my daughter who's filming is highly allergic to rabbits and she will have a massive asthma attack, so that'll be a future video. But if you look at the base, we put cinder blocks down, 2 rows of cinder blocks, we glued them together. And then we have the stock panel over it, we have chicken wire over it, we have the opaque plastic, it's 6 mil thick, and then on each end we have tarps because we were getting leakage, too much leakage in there during the winter, so we put the tarps up there. We have a massive door because we could take the wheelbarrow in and out of there. You can see a fan in the front here. It sucks air in. We have a fan in the back. It pushes the air out, so they have circulation through there. We also have electricity in here through extension cords. Our rabbits are, the ones that are growing and the bucks are in cages. All the does are on the ground and they do tunnel underneath, but they haven't gotten out before. It's a little messy in here because we've been doing a lot of yard cleanup and we're starting to do the manure, so that takes a lot of dragging the manure out. I have a fig tree in front. It's sort of struggling because this isn't the best environment for it. It gets a little cold in winter. If you pan up, Mary, they can see all of our trees. And we had 9 back there that were cut out, so we actually have sun now. We didn't have sun before. So these are my heirloom turkeys. They're called Narragansett. We ended up with 2 girls and a male, Tom, and then we had a wild one come that wouldn't leave us alone. It was flying up every night 60 feet into the trees and sleeping, and then coming down trying to get into the pen to the Tom. So we ended up sticking her in there. She probably came from a neighbor's property. We can't find out who. So these are my girls over here, the smaller ones, the one that's making noise. And the Tom is obviously being demonstrative right now, trying to scare us away. This is a dog kennel. It's a 10 by 10 dog kennel, and it came with the roof part, and it works really, really well. I am planning on getting a second one and expanding it out back, so when they have babies, there's plenty of room for the chicks to grow. If you go further in, Mary, you can actually get some... There's one hen sitting on eggs right now. It looks like they tossed their other nest apart. Yeah. So these guys will produce twice a year, sometimes 3 times a year, but twice a year they'll lay eggs, get about 40 in their nest, and then they'll sit on them. 30 days later, they usually hatch at least 20. And so they're really good producers of turkey.